Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is your man Roy with another Marvel Contest of Champions champion overview. This is the first video that I've done that has come directly from a request. So today we're going to look at Psylocke. Now, this for me is one of the best power control champions in the game if you know how to use her. She can be a little bit difficult to master. She doesn't have some of the benefits that other champions might have. So some of the pro players may choose other power control champions that are maybe a bit more robust, shall we say. But I do like Psylocke. Once you get the hang of her, she can be a very, very interesting champion to play as. If we can get the mechanics down right, she is one that can literally prevent any champion from gaining any sort of power. So that does make her very, very potent utilizer, and certainly likes a road to the labyrinth, where you're going to come up against some of these buffs on our nodes that are all or nothing, where they're vastly more likely to launch their SP3 as opposed to their 1 or 2. So similar to the other video styles we've done in the past, part 1 will be showing you how to defeat her. There'll be no surprises for those of you that have seen some of my other part 1 videos in terms of the method that we're going to use to defeat Psylocke. But then the part 2 video, as always, will be looking at how we utilize her as an attacker. And again, for this champion, I think she lends herself much more to attacking than she does defending. But let's just crack straight into this video, guys, and have a look at the 6-star version of Psylocke. So again, we're going to look at her generic abilities before looking at her awakened abilities. And the first thing that we see is a downside for Psylocke as an attacker is that she gains 25% less power from striking your opponent. Now, when we get into the attacking gameplay, make sure and check out that part 2 video. You will see that if we are an adept player using Psylocke, that's not going to cause us too much of an issue. But for those guys that like to do 2 full 5-hit combos and add a few more hits in to get to that SP1, we're not going to have that with Psylocke. So this does require certainly an adjustment in gameplay to fully utilise her in all of her glory. Now, she does also gain bonus critical damage rating the lower that your opponent's current power is. So as a defender, if we're mistiming those blocks near the start of a fight or where we've just launched a special, then she is going to get higher level of critical damage potentially on us. So we just need to be careful of that, because she can do some serious damage if we mistime a block. Now, the Psy Charge is the crux of Psylocke's ability. So where we don't have power, if we're struck, we don't gain power, where Psylocke has at least one Psy Charge. Now, she won't have a Psy Charge to start with. So although we start with 0 power, it's not that much of an issue. It's only as the fight develops that this element might start to throw in. So we don't gain power when struck if we have 0 power and Psylocke has at least 1 charge. Now, for every 5 hits that Psylocke lands on an opponent with 0 power, she gains a charge. Now, that's again not relevant at the start of the fight, because as soon as we land a hit on the opponent, then they are going to have power. So it's not really that much at the start of the fight, it's as the fight develops. Psylocke is definitely one of these champions that is in it for the long haul. Now, the key one here is each time the opponent fills a bar of power, Psylocke gains a Psy Charge. Now, that is the element that we're going to need in the attacking video, but we just have to bear in mind that for every time that if we are fighting her as a defender, every time we gain a bar of power, then she's going to gain a Psy Charge. Now, when Psylocke is struck by an opponent, they consume a psi charge instantly, and we actually gain 50% additional power. We gain more the longer it's been since we've last gained power. So one of the useful tactics to get a quick burst of power is to get over that special 1 bar, let her generate a psi charge, and then avoid her at all costs for the longest duration possible. Because the longer it is since we generated power, the more power we're going to get when we strike her. However, we have to bear in mind that if she strikes into a block, that is us gaining power. So we're not going to gain that much if we then just allow her to do a 5-hit combo into her shield and then attack her. So it is one of the more unique mechanics out there to get to grips with. But hopefully we'll have a look at the defending video, we'll try and show that in action, but you'll see that ability then reversed when we utilise her as an attacker. Now for heavy attacks, if we're looking to do some quick damage, this attack consumes all psi charges and it deals a percentage of whatever value energy damage per charge consumed. So again, the more charges we have, if we're hit with a heavy attack and it connects, we're going to deal a serious boost in energy-based damage. So useful against your likes of Korg, where their energy resistance just is either weakened or where they have a high physical resistance. We can bypass that by utilising the psi charges to deal increased damage. So Special 1 depletes up to 25% of the target's max power, and if this attack causes your opponent's power to be reduced over a special attack bar threshold, then Psylocke herself will gain power until she reaches 1 bar of power, and that's over 0.25 of a second, so practically instantly. So that's very, very useful in terms of a means of power control as well. If we have got that SP1 available and they're maybe on the cusp of getting up to that SP3, we can launch an SP1 to drain them back below the SP2. That in turn will allow us to gain an SP1 of our own, and then if we launch another SP1 that reduces them to below SP1, we can gain, and so on and so forth. So SP1 can be useful for very quick power drain. To keep the enemy away from their SP2, SP3, so it allows us to control what level they remain at. SP2, 100% chance to power lock for 6 seconds. That is just beautiful. 6 seconds can be quite a long time. Lets us get some extra combo hits in, get back up to that SP1 if we can manage it, and then also power drain down below whatever we've managed to power lock them at. So the two combined can be very, very useful. Now, if this attack hits, then we have a 100% chance to consume 1 psi charge and gain 34% power over 0.25 seconds. So that effectively brings us straight back up to SP1. So we can launch an SP2, we power lock them. If the attack hits, then we're going to get straight back up to SP1 to allow us to then power burn for up to 25%. So a very quick chain of events, although we are consuming a psi charge for that, and you will see from the attacking video we might not want to do that. The special attack 3 for me is the crux of utilising Psylocke's full ability. So we consume all psi charges, but we have 100% chance to power lock for 10 seconds. We burn 20% of your target's power for each psi charge consumed, causing direct damage based on the amount burned. So if we have 5 psi charges, and 5 is a magic number when it comes to psi charges and Psylocke's attacking ability, then that's going to be 100% target power burn. If this attack reduces your opponent to 0 power, which with 5 charges it would, that stuns them for 5.5 seconds. And then if we remember back to her standard psi charge ability, if we can place 5 hits with 0 power, then we gain a psi charge, and the opponent doesn't gain power if we're hitting them and they have 0 power and we have a psi charge. So if we can hit with an SP3 to drain them with 5 side charges, that drains them down to 0 power. It then stuns them for 5.5 seconds. If we can then get, because it's power locked as well, remember, if we can then get a 5-hit combo in, we regain a side charge, and every combo hit after that, as long as we've got a side charge, the opponent is not going to generate any power. So it basically means that we could potentially keep them in a state of 0 power indefinitely. That just then depends on our evade blocking ability. Now, the awakened ability is that the defensive ability accuracy is reduced by up to 75% at max 6-star signature level when they have 0 power. So utilising the method we just mentioned, again, it can reduce their defensive ability accuracy quite a lot if they have 0 power. And we also gain a further bonus increase to critical damage rating the lower your opponent's current power. So if we can keep them at that 0 power level, we're going to deal crazy critical damage as we go on. Okay, so in terms of champions to use against her, there isn't really a specific champion that I would throw in. Again, I mentioned in a previous video, I would use a champion that you're comfortable with, that you know their abilities, you know what they're capable of doing, because then you're more likely to know how they move. I don't particularly like Spider-Man Stack Enhanced for Psylocke, and that's going to upset an awful lot of people, because I know that that is a favourite champion out there, but I find his dodge animation very, very difficult to concentrate on. I prefer the old school evade animation, and that just allows me to stay in control of the fight in as much as I possibly can. I'm not invincible, I'm not perfect, I will still get hit on occasion, but at least with the other champions I know what I'm doing. Okay, so let's go into a duo and let's show you the animations as much as we can. So I think for this one I'm going to use a slightly lower ranked champion than maybe I would normally. And I think we're going to give her the class advantage as well. So let's go with Massacre. So it's just to show you the SP1 and the SP2 animations, because it is all about avoiding where possible. Now, she does have a very long reach for her second heavy attack. You'll see she stretches quite a lot over the screen. And then the SP1 there are all close contact hits. So if we can anticipate them, we shouldn't have any problem whatsoever in dodging them. I want to try and get her to her SP2, guys. Her SP2 is dodgeable, but it's all about timing. She's going to come in with a hit and then a long range attack. And it's just at the point that our forehead dips forward that you want to dodge that attack. Okay. So I'll see this one again in action, hopefully. Come on. There we go. Dodge. So one sweeping blow with a katana, and then she's into that ranged attack. So my advice would be bait out that SP1, because it is relatively easy to dodge. You just need to count the hits. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how I count them. It might be actual more than 4, but that's how I remember it. I wait for her to jump up and swipe down before I move in. So you can see here that we are using a relatively low powered character against a much larger opponent in terms of rating, but by knowing the champion, knowing the animations, it is relatively easy having the base dodge and block going on here and baiting out the specials to beat her. So as a defender, I don't really rate her all that much, because the champion, in my opinion, very much relies on that control of when she's utilising her specials, how she's building up those side charges. and she just doesn't bring it as a defender for me. Although, if she does manage to hit you and you are in low power, you are going to feel it. But again, this is a pretty standard fight. You can bring in champions that have a lot more debuffs or damage over time to make the fight easier, but that's what we're up against as a defender. You can basically bring in any champion that you're comfortable with, and as long as we know the animation, be relatively confident in our victory. Okay, so that's as defender. As always, part 2 video is going to now look at her as an attacker, so make sure and get across and check that out, guys. If you like the video, give it the big old thumbs up. You know the score by now. Make sure and subscribe to the channel. It is a relatively new channel. We want the content to get out there, guys, and also want you to be notified when I put a new video up, because they are going to become thick and fast over the next couple of weeks for your viewing pleasure. And finally, if you have any comments about anything that we discuss on these videos or anything else, feel free to drop a message down below and let me know what you think. As we said at the beginning of this is the first video that's been generated on your comments, so please let me know what you think, and if there's anything else you want to see, let us know. But until then, this is your man Roy signing off. Take it easy, stay safe, and we'll catch you later on. Ta-ra for now.